Hey everyone, welcome to Data Cleaning and Transformation, Part 3, Updating Area Names. So in this video, we're going to go through each one of our 4 data frames, and we're going to look at the values in the area column, and then we're going to replace some of them with a more standardized version of it. So let's see what I'm talking about here. If you take a look at this dictionary down here, replace area, you can see that we're going to use this to replace some of the names on the left side. These are just the keys of this dictionary with the values. So in the Johns Hopkins GitHub repository, not all of the country names are standardized in such a manner that will make it easier to use mapping in the future. So that's why we're going to do this. We're going to just standardize the names so that it is easier to map when we get to that part of the course. So take a look at the bottom portion of the dictionary, and you can see that there are 3 cruise ships that data was kept early on during the pandemic. Now we could have just removed them, I suppose, but what we're going to do instead is, instead of having their own row, we're just going to aggregate them into an area called cruise ship. Now you'll notice that some of these are only going to be in the world data frames, and there actually are no states that will be replaced, but there are some cruise ships in the USA data frames that will be replaced. So what we're going to do is we'll use pandas for this, but before we do that, let's inspect the data frames real quick. So here's the world data frame, one of them. Here's the USA. The important part is that their first column, their column names for the area are different. And so when we automate this in our function, we are going to just pick the very first column from each data frame instead of using a column name directly. So yeah, it's a few of the values in the first column that we're going to replace for each one. All right, so just so we can verify that this state province underscore state exists in the USA data frame, we will use the query method here, and you can see that there is a row for Diamond Princess. And one other thing we're going to do in this exercise, it says drop all rows from the US from the world data frame, is that we're going to remove the US from the world data frame. So it has its own row here. And the reason for that is we're going to be using the USA data frames, which has data for all of the states. And then we will aggregate all of those together and add it back in at the very end of our analysis. So for now, we will drop the US from the world data frame. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we can implement this using pandas. So the first thing we're going to do is actually, and as you can see here, you're going to get one of the data frames. So all 4 are going to pass through this function, and what's being specifically passed in this function is just one of the data frames. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to get the first column, the name of it, because it's different for each of the groups. And then I'm going to call the replace method. And the way the replace method works, one way to do it is you can map the column name to a dictionary of things that you want to replace. So it doesn't look through all of the columns for replacing. It's going to say, all right, this person has given me a dictionary of dictionaries. So I'm going to use this, I'm going to take the column and map it to whatever I want to use for replacement. So in that column, only in that column, if it sees Korea, comma South, it will replace it with South Korea. So, and if this value doesn't appear in that column, it just doesn't do anything. So in the USA data frames, it will not do anything here, and that's fine. That's what it is supposed to do. Well, for like South Korea or for countries that don't belong. The USA has a few of these cruise ships that it will replace. Okay, so that'll take care of the replacement. And the last thing is we are going to query, and I'll just say I'll actually use the first one. Well, so before that, we're going to create a filter here. We're going to say the first column, we do not want it to equal US. And all we'll do is we can actually just return df of filled. So the last thing is we're going to check that first column of each of the data frames and make sure it does not equal US. And this is only found in the world data frame, so it's not going to remove any of the ones from the state. And then we're going to just pass that filter into here, and that should do it. Okay, so I'm going to execute that, and let's actually run our function. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass in one of the data frames, and this is just to check it right now. And so this is the world cases, and we're going to see if it finds South Korea. Okay, that's good. It found it. And we're going to check for the US, which we looked up here. So if you go back up here, we're going to run this same query, but down here on our updated data frame, and it is no longer there. So it has been correctly dropped. Okay, so we are done with that step. We've updated the areas. Now we need to update our run function. So we're just going to add this one new line, and that's what's cool about this run function, is that you just have to keep on adding one line at a time for each transformation. So I'm just going to copy and paste our code from above. So this is after step 1. And then all we're going to do here is we're going to pass in the update area through, or the data frame through update area. And this will be step 2. And now I will get a whole new dictionary of data frames, and all I have to do is call run3, and of course get an error. Oh, groups is not defined. Okay, so did I not? Okay, so I don't have it in this notebook. Maybe I deleted it, or I just didn't put it, but I didn't put these constants in. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. And then I will update the run function. And okay, well, I need to import read local data. I did not do that up above. Yes, because I didn't import all the things we need. So this is from import read local data. All right. So sorry, a little bit messy there. And so yes, so part of what we need here is in the last, notebook, and so you'll have to do that to get it to work. So now we should be good to go. You can of course just import it from the solutions module, and if you do that, it is defined in there, and it will work okay. But let's go ahead and I will copy this. And we can see that now we have 2 rows for cruise ships, and I don't know which cruise ships these were. We didn't check beforehand, but I think one of them was Diamond Princess, and there obviously was another one. So you can see it did complete that transformation for the USA. So now run3 is updated. It's gone through 2 steps. Step 1 is selecting the correct columns, and then step 2 is replacing some of the areas with a more standardized version. Okay, so that's it for updating the area names.